It's a very different topic. Some of them light and fun, others, though, a little more deep.
Yeah, Rita, we're going to start by going back to Tuesday. That's when I did a story about the aid in dying law being introduced here in Minnesota. The concept that you or I, if we were terminally ill with less than 6 months to live, could be prescribed a medication we could take to end our own lives when we decide to. But should we have that? You weighed in when we talked about this on Tuesday. Lots of you said yes, saying you've witnessed people suffer with illness and believing the option should be theirs. But others, just as many, told us no way, that this is a slippery slope for too many vulnerable people.
Well, it all came to a screeching halt once the debate got to St. Paul, at least in terms of the law anyway.
Yeah, the debate was so emotionally charged last night with so many arguments and unknowns, the bill's author literally pulled it off the desk, saying state lawmakers just weren't ready to vote on this issue. So here we are. The debate has now been cracked wide open here in Minnesota, and the sides are many. So tonight we're going to take some time to calmly lay out what those sides are, and then we'll discuss it. Side one, the side we shared with you on Tuesday. The terminally ill patient who wants autonomy over her life.
I hope to enjoy however many days I have left on this beautiful earth.
Brittany Menard was given 6 months to live. 2 doctors, independent of each other, confirmed that, and a third doctor deemed her mentally stable to get the drugs she would take to end her life in Oregon, where this is legal, in 2014.
Partial paralysis was very likely, complete paralysis a possibility, and Brittany said, I will not die that way. Why should anyone have to endure a dying process like that?
Side two, the moral argument. This is usually backed by a deeply held religious belief that life is life, from conception to death, without human intervention. And then there's side three. It's got a lot of folks in it with a lot of different concerns.
There are people who are just truly concerned that the safeguards aren't adequate, right? And there'll be a risk that there'll be coercion or duress for people who didn't want this. Disability rights objections, that people are afraid that this will devalue life and there'll be a slippery slope, and then at some point they'll be sort of forced or pressured into hastening their deaths.
But simply stated, for side three, the main concern is the bill that was in St. Paul cracks open too many unknowns. Even though it still states, like in Oregon, the patient has to be deemed mentally competent to get it and has to have a 6 months to live or less prognosis.
There's a fear that there will be a pressure. There's also a fear that that 6-month thing might get amended later. So that might be a safeguard now. Will it always be a safeguard built into the law?
Every side has a legitimate argument if you really think about it. And every one of us has to think about it. So my first reaction after hearing the news last night that the lawmaker just said, the senator that introduced this bill said, no way, we're not going to do this, we're not ready, was it's just a set of lawmakers kicking the can down the road. So then I asked our expert about that, and he said, I don't think so, because we're having the conversation.
Right.
We're having these conversations, you're having them online, we're having them on this show, and that's part of the process. It might take a few years to keep talking about it because people are uncomfortable.
Well, to be fair, there's probably more than 3 sides. There's probably 100 sides.
There weren't enough time. That's why
Yeah.
side three encompasses about 400 sides.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's so many, and I get it. It's emotional.
And you know what? No matter how you believe about it, somebody else feels just as passionately about it. So it's not necessarily fair to say you should believe the way I believe. But
Absolutely.
It's just going to be one of those that is, defines, this generation when we go forward, if we might finally make a decision one way or the other.
The expert said it best. I said, is this a civil rights issue or a moral issue? He said it's both.
Interesting.
Yeah.